Alright, so yesterday we finished up our China portion of our study guide. Now, today and tomorrow we should be able to get through the Japan part. The Japan section's not as long. We really only cover three main things through our PowerPoint when it comes to Japan. First we'll go over today is, so the first section of it that we'll cover today is going to be about religions. Tomorrow we'll cover history and their feudal system, so like the samurai and daimyo. And then the last portion will be pretty much just basic culture and history. So this first section that we'll get through today, with Japan, it is kind of a relatively large island. It's just off the eastern coast of China. If we're looking at this big map here on the side of the room, it's this kind of purplish island over here. That is China, where we just finished up. Okay, so it's just off the eastern coast. But it does have a little bit of mixed up terrain. It is relatively mountainous. But the weather itself, it is seasonal. Okay, so they do have 4 seasons, very similar to us. They do have a spring, a summer, and a fall. It does have the nickname Land of the Rising Sun. This is their country flag. The big red circle is supposed to represent the sun. But it gets that name because it is one of the first countries to start a new day. They are several hours ahead of us when it comes to time. Off the top of my head, I don't know how many hours ahead of us they are. But let's say it's 9 a.m. here. It's probably close to 11 p.m. over there. Okay, so they will experience tomorrow before we do. Okay, so the sun rises on a new day there first. But getting into the religion portion, there are 3 main religions that are practiced in Japan. So the first religion that is the most commonly practiced in Japan is Buddhism. Obviously, we covered Buddhism several weeks ago, but it's very, very common in Asian countries. And again, remember, it's all about pretty much learning how to deal with pain and suffering through not desiring possessions. They follow those 4 noble truths, the Eightfold Path. They also believe in that karma and reincarnation. The other religion that's up here is called Shinto. Now, Shinto is the oldest religion in Japan, but its name literally translates into Way of the Gods. The main idea of it is that there are supernatural beings, or gods called kami, that live in all objects and forces of nature. And that the closer you can be to nature is the closer you can be to the gods. So a lot of people who practice Shinto will meditate and worship at special shrines called Shinto gates. But a lot of these Shinto gates, like I said, are usually built out in nature. Some place where it's considered to be peaceful. They can go and meditate. And they just think it's a way to be closer to the gods. Now, the other common religion that's practiced in Japan, it's technically a type of Buddhism, but it's called Zen. And with Zen, so technically Zen's it's a type of Buddhism, where Zen Buddhists believe that enlightenment can be achieved rather quickly and suddenly. But it's usually associated with very elaborate stone and sand gardens. And the upkeep and tending to these gardens is their form of meditation. So these Zen gardens, like I said, are usually sand or stone based. They'll have some plants in them, but they're not like gardens like what we think of gardens here in the U.S. Here in our country, gardens can be flowers, they can be vegetables, they can be a mixture of both, whatever. But these Zen gardens usually have large boulders and then very small stone or very fine sand that is then raked into different patterns. So the raking of the sand into the different patterns is kind of like the form of meditation. So typically with Buddhists in their meditation, when we talked about Buddhism before, most Buddhists will meditate next to either a shrine or a statue of the Buddha or somewhere out in nature. But with Zen Buddhists, the meditation's done while actually raking the sand or designing the garden. So if you kind of think of it like this, if I gave you a sandbox the size of your desk with a little tiny rake and pretty much let you play in it, my guess is, you might talk for the first minute or two, and then you'd probably be so focused on raking your patterns in or playing in it or designing or whatever, that it'd probably be pretty silent. So with their gardens, that's typically how it'll work. The meditation is done while they're planning the layouts and then while they're doing the actual raking.